Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston, Chapter 3, Irish Invasion Myths. The meaning of the Milesian myth. But the myth of the struggle of the Dananns with the sons of Miled is more difficult to interpret. How does it come that the lords of light and beauty, wielding all the powers of thought represented by magic and sorcery, succumbed to a human race and were dispossessed by them of their hard-won inheritance? What is the meaning of this shrinking of their powers, which at once took place when the Milesians came on the scene? The Milesians were not on the side of the powers of darkness. They were guided by American, a clear embodiment of the idea of poetry and thought. They were regarded with the utmost veneration, and the dominant families of Ireland all traced their descent to them. Was the kingdom of light then divided against itself? Or if not, to what conception in the Irish mind are we to trace the myth of the Milesian invasion and victory? The only answer I can see to this puzzling question is to suppose that the Milesian myth originated at a much later time than the others, and was, in its main features, the product of Christian influences. The people of Dana were in possession of the country, but they were so-called pagan divinities. They could not stand for the progenitors of a Christian Ireland. Yeah. It's nonsense. But people believe it, and they say, oh, the powers of sin are defeated. That's why in Ireland and America in particular, domestic crimes of certain types are most of what happens in the world in those categories. And there are otherwise domestic crimes are really high. So yeah, sin's really defeated. These so-called other influences, they're really defeated. Yeah, right. And it had a somewhat or other to be rid of, and a race of less embarrassing descendants substituted for them. So the Milesians were fetched from Spain and endowed with the main characteristics, only more humanized, of the people of Dana, but the latter, in contradistinction to the usual attitude of early Christianity, are created very tenderly to the story of their overthrow. One of them has the honor of giving her name to the island, and brutality of one of the conquerors towards them is punished with death. And while dispossessed of the lordship of the soil, they still enjoy life in the fair world which, by their magic art, they had made invisible to mortals. I enunciated that weird. They are no longer thought of as gods, but they are more than human, and frequently instances occur in which they are shown as coming forth from their fairy world, being embraced in the Christian fold, and entering into heavenly bliss. In the Goetia, we have number 37. The myth about that is that entity is that it ended up converting later to one religion or another. Phoenix, With two cases of this redemption of the Dananns, we shall close this chapter on the invasion myths of Ireland. The first is the strange and beautiful tale of the transformation of the children of Lear, and the Jinn. Danan, is kind of broken into different things, right? But the Jinn, they have, they may support one faith or another, or be against one faith or another, or one, they're not entirely united. This good versus evil, Satan over all the spirits, I don't believe that. That's part of why reading chapter 70, Surah 72 is, I guess, important because it reminds you when the spirits come out at night that they're not, saying that at night reminds you that not all the spirits are bad. And they have choices just like us. Well, I mean, of course they have choices, but, the idea that they're just they've always made the wrong choices, like, it doesn't work that way.